Welcome to the channel. My name is Brad Campbell and this is Kolob Canyons Ranch. We're an off-grid homestead here in southern Utah and we're powered by solar. At about 1 o'clock every day, all year round, we top off our batteries and the production just goes off a cliff because there's nowhere for all that power to go. From noon until the sun goes down, it's about 50 kilowatt hours of power that's just being wasted. So the question is, do I mine Bitcoin with it or do I just buy Bitcoin? What's going to give me the best payback? So today I'm going to run a complete analysis on that. Now, before you scoff and say, hey, why don't you just sell back your power to the power company, dummy, on a net metering type of arrangement? We don't have net metering here. Otherwise, I would. That would be the no-brainer answer. Because Rocky Mountain Power here in southern Utah does not offer net metering, I'm just throwing away all that power. So mine Bitcoin or dollar cost average Bitcoin, which one of these two scenarios is going to be the winner? And it might not be the one you think. Before we jump in, let me just give you a quick rundown on the system. Outside we have 44 panels or modules, solar modules, 450 watts each bifacial, KB solar, and that produces about 20 kilowatts. And all of that energy is running into these two Sol-Ark 15 inverters behind me. And then all the energy is stored in our battery bank, which consists of 18 Rubik's batteries for a total of about 95 kilowatt hours of storage. We cannot sell the power back, as I mentioned, so the batteries are generally topped off, whether it's summertime or winter, about 12 or 1 o'clock. That's a lot of power we're dumping, over 50 kilowatt hours of power per day, enough to power 2 average homes. We're just throwing it away. So the question is, should I run a miner here in the barn, or should I just save myself the trouble and just buy Bitcoin on a regular basis, dollar cost averaging? Let's look at 4 years and see which of those two scenarios will produce more Bitcoin. My strategy on Bitcoin is long-term holding. Obviously, it's a very volatile asset. It's down over 50% from its all-time highs last year. And if you're a long-term Bitcoin owner or even new, you should know by now that it does this up and down thing, and right now we're in what we would call a crypto or Bitcoin winter. So I am looking at the current price, which today is about $62,000, and we're going to look at just assuming that price over a 4-year period of time, storing it in a cold wallet, and which one dollar for dollar gets me more Bitcoin after 4 years. Now, right out of the gate, I thought free power, this is a no-brainer. I'm in a barn, we're in a remote area. I can make as much noise as I want. It's as loud or louder than a shop vac. So that's, that sound can carry. But this barn is very well insulated. So the sound is a moot point. Creating a lot of heat is actually a negative. I'd have to vent this thing outside and cool it somehow, and so maybe put it in its own little room. So aside from the numbers that I'm going to quote in here, which is the cost of the miner and the wear and tear costs and just my time looking, buying, setting it up, does not include a separate housing, maybe a mini split air conditioner, the cost of running that air conditioner, or even just a fan that's running all day to blow the heat outside first of all and keep the ambient temperature in that little housing cool enough not to overheat the machine. Okay, so here we have our little house with our little solar array. Now I have a ground mount system, but this is just for representative purposes. You can see right here that it's at 100% state of charge, and it is just a little before 2 p.m. and we are in July. It's almost 4th of July. Tomorrow's 4th of July. And you can see that as I push my finger on here, it will start tracking the exact time, and it starts here on the left at midnight. And as we track across that up and down little sawtooth is our air conditioner. We like to sleep with it pretty chilly in the house, so it's about 63 degrees in the house. And you can see the sun starts coming up here and the load starts increasing. The load is that orange right there. And so as the load goes up and the batteries are going to start to charge as the sun goes up, because all along the bottom here, all of this is off battery power, and the very top light blue line there, that is the state of charge line as it's sloping down, down, down. As we got to the end of the evening and the sun started to come up, we bottomed out at about, 61%. Then we start to climb up again right here as the sun is coming out. State of charge is going up, and the yellow there is the solar coming in. Look at that. We're at 11,000 watts coming in right there at 1035. And we go all the way up, and the state of charge will then top out at right here, 1250, which really was just about 1 hour ago, we got to 100% state of charge. Now we go off a cliff here and you can see that the batteries are no longer charging. And so where's all the energy going? Where's the green? It's not going anywhere because it is in float. So it's just diffused, or just, I don't actually know where it goes, but it doesn't go into the batteries and it doesn't go into the house. Now a little bit as we are using electricity in the house, it is drawing sometimes direct from solar, but it also maintains those batteries at 100%, as you can see, and that's the farthest I can go. Now I can jump back here to yesterday so that you can see a little bit bigger picture here. Again, we go down, so about the same, somewhere right around 60% right now this time of year, and that's with the air conditioner running all night, and until the sun comes up. So the sun comes up, we fully charge again, same time, 10 minutes difference, it got to 100% state of charge, right there at 109. And then those spikes are just things that we're using, could be power equipment, could be charging something, or hot tub, pinf mat, sauna. So again, when the green is going down below the line, that means it's charging, that's incoming solar, it's putting energy into the batteries. And when the green goes above the line, that means that we are using the batteries. So sun is now down, state of charge is going to start heading down. We have no more production, so there's no more yellow, and the green is going up as we're dipping into those batteries. The point I'm trying to make here is that mining Bitcoin is not competing against net metering and selling my energy back to the power company, because that's not an option. The Bitcoin mining is competing against taking the same dollars that I would use to invest in buying a mining machine and running it and all those other things I mentioned, and just buying Bitcoin outright with the money. For the purposes of this analysis, I will be looking at an ASIC S21 machine. It's about $1,700. It does one thing and one thing only. It mines Bitcoin. It's loud, about as loud as a shop vac, and it draws about as much power as running a clothes dryer in your house nonstop. The way it works is that this particular machine, I'm looking at the spec sheet here, it says 200 terahashes per second. Just ignore that technical stuff. It basically means that this box, this little miner, this dedicated machine that only does one thing, makes about 200 trillion guesses to try and answer the problem that unlocks the Bitcoin block, basically, and that's how you get rewarded. And that's how the network grows and makes new Bitcoin. It still only wins a tiny sliver of the raffle because it's just one little tiny machine, and the whole entire global network combined guesses about 5 million times faster than this one machine. So you can see that I'm just trying to get little tiny crumbs off of this giant, cookie that's left that gets smaller every year because there can only be ever 21 million Bitcoin. So the cookie is getting smaller, but I'm only able to get a couple of crumbs here and there. Just trying to paint the general picture for those of you that aren't familiar with mining. So miners get paid a specific rate for guessing correctly. If your miner, doing 200 trillion guesses a second, is able to get the correct one, and every once in a while it will, you're going to get paid a tiny percent of a Bitcoin in return. And that going rate right now, if this machine runs 24/7, is about $7.50 a day. So if it creates Bitcoin without any energy cost, and I make $7.50 a day, then you can start doing the math over a year. Seems like there would be a legitimate payback. My payback would be about 8 months at $7.50 a day. Because I know it's going to come up in the comments, I'm not factoring in the cost of my solar system into the ROI of the mining machine. Okay, I'm doing this as two separate things. So at $7.50 a day for the miner, that's how much it's making for me, and a $1,700 machine, keeping things really basic, and an 8-month payback, everything beyond that would be free money, right? Seemingly, but there's one thing on the spec sheet that completely wrecks that thesis. Duty cycle means what percentage of time is the machine actually running? When you think about Bitcoin mining solar only, so only using excess solar power. So how does this compare to someone who's mining Bitcoin 100% off the grid? Meaning they don't have a solar rig like me and they don't have any surplus power. They're paying for every kilowatt. Most of them are going to have a break even somewhere. Gosh, they have to be running about a 60% duty cycle. I'm about a third that with my excess solar here. So I'm not running the machine long enough with the excess power that I have for this to make sense. I've got to run many hours to solve a lot of problems to be able to get enough crumbs off the cookie to be able to pay for this whole operation and for this to make sense and for it to pencil out more so than dollar cost averaging, just buying Bitcoin at whatever price it is. So the question now is, at 20% duty cycle, am I going to get enough crumbs off that cookie to stack enough sats for this whole thing to make sense compared to just dollar cost averaging? So I ran these calculations for you because I found this to be quite interesting. The whole argument in one picture here. So you see the blue flat line is the $1,700 that I would pay for the miner. If I took that money instead and just bought Bitcoin, it would buy me 0.0275 Bitcoin today at today's prices. And that's done. I pay no taxes on that because I don't pay taxes till I sell it, and I'm not selling it, so I'm just accumulating. Compare that to the orange line, which you see, that's the mining line. That climbs pretty fast the first year, but then it sort of bends flat as the difficulty level rises. As I said, more people coming in, more competition, and then the battery cycling stops paying at a certain point because the cost of cycling my batteries is costing me more than what I'm making in the Bitcoin. And then of course the 2028 halving hits, and that really destroys things. So after 4 years, I make about $1,100 in Bitcoin, which is only 0.178 Bitcoin, and that is net of battery wear. So buying wins by roughly 35%, even if you factor in using the batteries. So, you know, more hours of mining. The offsets is what sneaks up and kills you in the end. And that's why I wanted to run this analysis and share it with you guys, because on the surface, it seems like it makes perfect sense. Now, if you have a way that you're more profitably mining Bitcoin than how I've outlined it in this video, I'd love to hear that below. And for everyone else, if you've got ideas on what I should do with the extra 50 kilowatt hours of power that I'm wasting every day, let me know that as well down below, because I don't think mining is going to be the way I'll go, but I do need to think of something I can do with this excess surplus of power. And maybe I just get more batteries. But again, that's what the comment section is for. This is a great community. I appreciate all the input and I read every comment. And if you guys want to see more about the technical side of this system behind me here, I'll leave that video right here.